Hey everyone, how's it going? It is around 3 p.m. on February 21st, so about 2 hours after the close. I could not do this session live today, so we're going to make it up and do it as a recording. However, I have been locked up in meetings until now, so I haven't seen what happened in the market for the last few hours leading up to the close. But the advantage now is we have had all the major earnings, including the NVDA earnings. So we'll get to see how NVIDIA performed, how it's looking in the after session, how investors in the markets are reacting to their earnings, and how the major indices are reacting to it. So we'll have less surprises tomorrow morning. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how all of that played out. So first thing I'm going to do is look at NVIDIA and see what is going on with their stock. It looks like NVIDIA did very well, and we like what we see, or investors like what they see, and it has shot way up. It has brought the S&P 500 up with it. It has brought, looks like even affecting Amazon, and let's see the QQQ. Yeah, it has affected the QQQ as well. So this is a relief. I was expecting really good things out of the NVIDIA calls. I said that a couple of sessions ago because we saw all the other chips and the other AI companies do very well in their earnings. So these very surprising if the market leader did not do well when all of those other companies did well. The question was, would it be enough to bring the major indices with it? So far, it looks like yes, it is good enough to bring all the major indices with it. And that is a great relief. It would have been really bad news if NVIDIA did really well and the QQQ was not really affected, or if it was still trending downwards. That might still happen by the time that we get to tomorrow morning, but no guarantees. So at least right now, it's not looking like that's going to happen. So let's see, let's get an estimate. We're at 429.8 in the QQQ and 499.5 on the S&P 500. So we want to see how that looks on our charts. And does that take us out of the danger zone of slipping below the uptrend or the trend lines? So let's go over here. I'll take a look at the SPY first. At 499.8 is just below this psychological resistance that we set at 500. So that's going to bring us back up to this red line right here. And then that is matching these peaks right here. And we have a little bit more room to go for the all-time highs. So it is looking very much like this time around the S&P might just bounce off of that EMA 20 yet again. Now, if it can't get above those all-time highs, that's going to spell a little bit of trouble, because we'll be right back in this position challenging the EMA 20s within the next week if we can't get above these all-time highs. And then that could be the time that the ice on the lake finally cracks and we fall into icy water below. So for now, looks like that is avoided. We could get another week of upward movement, or at the very least sideways movement, and still stay above this trend line. And that is why we don't preemptively or try to anticipate what's going to happen in the market and just turn our entire portfolio around. We'll make hedges so that when we maintain a trend, we'll have minimal losses. And then if we break through, we also have minimal losses. Just a very, very minor acceptable losses that can be easily overwhelmed by the normal performance of our portfolio. So far, looking very good for the S&P 500. I'll look at QQQ. QQQ came and started trading down towards the MA50, but it looks like at some point it turned around and we closed a little bit higher right underneath that trend line. So let me see QQQ over here. So in the last hour and 15 minutes, but really in the last half hour, we really started to trend upwards. So that was good news for the QQQ to be able to recover all of that leeway. What we expected this morning is that we would not be able to match or exceed the previous day close, which we were not able to. So everything is behaving as we expect so far. I also mentioned that we might just dip below this trend line and we could conceivably pop right back up. It was not a guarantee that this was a beginning of a trend change. It's just that it makes it a lot more likely. And we wouldn't have confirmed a change of trend unless we come down and we pop back up, hit that trend line, and come right back down. When we see a lower low and a lower high, that's when we have confirmed a downtrend or a change of trend. And that hasn't happened. Given that we're going to, it seems like, at least as of right now, we're going to open at around 429.70. 429.70 is, let me just draw the line precisely. 429.7. You see that? That is back above the trend line. If we open here tomorrow, we will be back above the trend line, and then we'll see if it trades lower during the day again, or if it gets stopped out by this trend line, and then where we close tomorrow. That's going to be very important. Is this just another bounce that just went a little bit lower than usual? It's entirely possible. So things are looking pretty good. It looks like NVDA so far, from what we can tell, is still propping up the markets. And tomorrow morning, we will want to see that same type of strength. We don't want to come in tomorrow morning and see that, oh, we traded down in overnight and or early the next morning, and we're opening way down here again or near the previous day close. That wouldn't be very good news. So for now, everything is looking really, really good. By really good, I mean that it's looking like this trend might still hold and continue and we have another week. Now, that means if that happens, then we want to take off our hedges, because the hedges that we shared inside the aftermarkets and the ones that I put on and I shared in some of my classes were designed for a market event coming down to the MA50 by this Friday. And if we pounce back up here on Thursday, then it's going to be almost impossible for us to come all the way back down to the MA50 on Friday in a single day. So we're going to be looking to take off those hedges tomorrow, and it'll just be a baby loss. It was protecting us. If we had closed down here, where at the lows instead of at the highs of today, then we would be really super happy for those hedges, because that's almost halfway down to the MA50. Would have made quite a bit on those hedges. Now, as it stands, we might be break even or at a small loss. And tomorrow, even if that pops upwards, it'll be a small loss. It won't be the entire loss. We designed these hedges so that it would be acceptable if we lost the entire value if they went to zero. They're not going to be anywhere near having lost their entire value. So it's fine. We'll just take that baby loss and be happy that we were protected for the couple of sessions that we had them on. NVIDIA was really the event for this week. FOMC didn't have much an effect. That was released at 11. Where's 11? 11's right here. Okay, so we got some volatility. I guess that's when we started doing the late day wave downwards, but we completely undid it in the last half hour. So the market completely shrugged off those FOMC minutes. And then with the NVIDIA earnings, we popped a lot higher in the aftermarket session. Okay, so that's interesting that our VIX came down slightly today. Is this? Yeah, our VIX came down slightly today, even though we closed lower. On the S&P, I guess we're up 0.09%. So we're flat on the S&P, lower on the QQQ, but the S&P is what the VIX measures. So pretty much flat, tiny bit lower on the S&P, but VIX is tiny bit lower as well. So that's interesting to note that. So it looks like now that NVIDIA earnings are out of the way and it's seeming like the S&P is going to survive, our volatility might start to die down as well. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, and we'll be prepared for it. But as of right now, it's looking like the indices are holding very well, and we may get an extension of that uptrend. We'll see you tomorrow morning.